Hello everyone, Darth Loquitur here, back with another video, and today we're going to do a lesson. And we're going to call this a 101 lesson. This is really intended for newer players. I feel like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes game is going to continue to grow, and we're going to get people who've never seen the game before or don't know what to expect when you hear people talking about grand arenas. So this is meant to be an explanation at a very simple level for new players, or maybe newer players who've played one or two grand arenas but still don't really understand what it's all about. So we're going to go through that today and really try to help out people who are brand new to the game understand what this is and what to expect. So again, the reason I believe that this game is going to continue to grow, Disney has 10 or more Star Wars projects in the works, and over the next couple of years there's going to be tons of Star Wars content. That means there's going to be new things for our game, and people who enjoy Star Wars or get into it, search for mobile games to play on their phones and do what they like. So more people are going to continue to find this game, and for a beginning player to understand Grand Arena, that's the intent. It's a game mode that doesn't unlock until 85. When it does unlock, there's not really a very good explanation for it, and there is a very short window in which you either get to join the Grand Arena or you miss it entirely. So if you don't play the game every day, you might miss a Grand Arena, and if you do, you're left out for the whole month. So again, knowing that ahead of time makes it more likely that you'll get it and click it. It's a fair game mode, so I'm going to explain what that means, what I mean by a fair game mode. We're going to talk about what Grand Arena is, how it works. We're even going to talk about some strategies for character placement and just some simple stuff to try to get people going for their first Grand Arena if they don't know what to expect. And this is really a great way to learn about characters. Your opponents are going to have characters that you don't, and you can read them, play against them, fight against them, and learn how teams work. It's a great way to sort of experience the game as you play it. And of course, it's a way to get more stuff. There's prizes. You don't have to win first place to get decent prizes out of this game mode. So yeah, if nothing else, just play it for the loot. So what do I mean by a fair game mode? In Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, there's a lot of different game modes. And if you're a free-to-play player or a new player, you're going to get introduced to the squad arena, the fleet arena, challenges, events. You'll join a guild, there's raids, and then there's guild events to do, territory battles. Every single one of these modes rewards players who've been playing a long time and have built up a lot of characters, and it rewards people who start the game and spend a lot of money to build up those characters in a shorter period of time, which is fine. I mean, it's a for-profit game, and they have to make money, so that's how they're going to make money, by trying to motivate people to want to build the characters quickly and spend money. The Grand Arena game mode, however, it matches you up against other people at the same galactic power. So the people who spend money, their galactic power grows and you don't see them. They move past you. They're in a different division. So with the Grand Arena mode, you're fighting against opponents who are at the same point in the game as you are. So if you're early on in the game, you're fighting very early accounts. If you've played playing the game for 6 months, you'll be mostly playing against people who've been in the game about the same amount of time as you. So what is galactic power? If you're so new to the game that you don't understand what galactic power is, it's just a measure of the power of your characters and ships. And as you level the characters up and put gear on them and work on those characters, the galactic power goes up. On a character, you can see the galactic power underneath the character. On a ship, you'll see the galactic power at the top of the screen above the ship. And anytime that you go into an inventory screen, either for characters or ships, your total galactic power is going to be listed right on the top banner. So you can see the total added up galactic power of all your ships and all your characters. And for both the characters and fleet, that number is going to be the total of both characters and fleet together. And that's what determines your division in Grand Arena. So the basics of it, join when it starts. It starts early in the month, and I think it always starts on a Monday. And man, when that pops up, you have to join. You have a 24-hour period to join. And if you miss that first join, I believe, or at least the way it used to be, you miss the whole Grand Arena for the whole month. So you have to be 85 in order to join. So once you're 85, always be watching for that at the beginning of the month so you can join the Grand Arena. Your division is based on what your total galactic power is, and your division is set when you join that very first Grand Arena round. Now, if once you're in the Grand Arena for the month, if your galactic power doubles, it doesn't matter. If you started in Division 10, you're going to be in Division 10 for all 4 weeks of the Grand Arena Challenge. Okay, so there are 4 rounds over 4 weeks. Each round takes 1 week, and your score is measured in banners, and the banners add up over the total, and that determines at the end what your league is, and you get promoted to different leagues throughout the event. So for the galactic power, you could see on this chart, if you're 600,000 or less, you're in Division 11, and then 600 to 800 is Division 10, 800 to 1 million is Division 9, and it just goes up the chart. As you go up the chart, you can see characters and ships. Where it says 3 characters, that means you have to place 3 character teams of 5 in the 5v5, and you have to place 1 ship team on defense. Your opponent will be placing the same thing, so you're going to need at least 3 teams to fight their 3 defenses and a fleet to fight their fleet. That means, starting out, you're going to have multiple teams and multiple fleets to have good participation in this game mode. So an event lasts 1 week, and it consists of 3 rounds. There's a 24-hour join period, and then each round you have 24 hours to set up and 24 hours to play. So that's 6 days of setup and play, 1 day to join. That's 7 days. That's a week. Each time you join a new event, it puts you in a pod of 8. And the way that it selects your pod, so your total galactic power determines your division. But for this pod matchup, the game takes your top characters and it looks at the total galactic power of your top characters. And this is not written down somewhere that I've ever found where the makers of the game have said exactly how it works. But people that are good at statistics have run the numbers, and basically the pod seems to match based on your top 65 characters, their total galactic power. So especially at lower levels, you can sometimes get really weird matchups where you think, why the heck am I paired up against this guy? His best team is better by far than the best team I have. Well, what happens is if they've got one really good, strong team like that that's got a lot of galactic power, but then they're not really working on too many other teams, their galactic power will be the same as somebody who's been working on 4 different teams and has 4 decent teams somewhere in their roster. So just be aware of those pod matchups. Sometimes you're going to perceive that they're not fair, but the game has a method to do it that's the best that they can do to make it fair. And then your wins and losses in each round determine your placement. So if you lose your first round, then you're in the bottom 4 and you get paired up against other people that lost their first round, which increases the chances that you can win your second round. If you win the second round, then you get put up against somebody who has won 1 and lost 1 so far. And then likewise, when you start the next round, the same thing happens again. You'll be in this pot of 8, and your wins and losses will determine your final placement. So if you look at the event and the rewards, you can see over here that there's 8 people in the pod. You can see that they offer rewards for places 1, 2 to 4, 5 to 7, and 8. Well, you don't want to get 8th place if you can help it. But the one that I opened up here that's at the top, that's what you get for first place. You get 1,400 of the shop currency, which is quite a lot. 2 Zeta materials, which are important and you want those. 3 Omega materials, which are also very valuable, especially if you're early in the game. And then a bunch of stuff for slicing mods and trying to make your mods for your characters better. So to me, these rewards are definitely worth trying to get a good placement. And you can see the 2nd through 4th place still get 1 Zeta material. So even if you're not, top of your pod, you could still get 4 Zeta materials out of this in a month. I'm not going to say easily, but pretty reliably you can get a bunch of Zetas. So it's worth playing these events and trying to win. So now that we've discussed a little bit of the basics, let's talk about how we fight. So once you're in a pod, you get paired with an opponent, and you'll both have a day to set your defenses. As you go up in divisions, you have to place more and more teams on defense, and that means you have to have more and more teams to fight the defenses that your opponent has played. So whatever you require on defense, just remember you have to have at least twice that many teams. Because if you need 4 teams on defense, then you're going to need 5, maybe 6 teams on offense to be able to try to beat the opponent. And that's how you build your roster in the game. That's what motivates you to make new teams. So it's an interesting it's an interesting game mode. And if you don't know this, if you don't understand what to expect going into Grand Arena, which when I was a new player, I'd been playing the game a while, but when that first time that Grand Arena popped up, I had no clue what I was doing. And I messed it all up. And the second time the Grand Arena came down, I still had no idea what was going on. It took me playing through several of these to understand, I really need to have, 5 or 6 good teams to be able to beat my opponent and to start figuring out how to play this. So knowledge is power. If you already know at the start of the game that you're going to need 6 teams for this game mode, then that's going to help you start working on the right number of teams to be able to be successful in Grand Arena. So for a new player, up through Division 8, you're placing 3 defenses. And that, if you have 6 teams, that's good enough. You don't need 9 teams at first. Once you get up, like let's say Division 5, you're placing 5 teams, then you're going to need more than 10 teams. You're going to, think about 12, maybe 14 teams at that level, because you may not win your first time against a team, and you want to have a second team that really has a chance to come in and battle them again and win. And there's extra points when you clear a whole zone. So it's very important that you beat these teams and clear these zones and get all your banners. When you actually go in to fight your opponent, you can scout them. And scouting them simply means you take a look at what they have before you set your defenses. And that's important because if you know what kind of teams they have, how big their characters are, and what you can expect to face, that will give you an advantage in how you place your defenses and how you play against them. So at lower level, it's not so important to scout, but for sure as you go up in divisions to higher galactic power, you really need to take a look at what your opponent has so you know the best strategy to defend and what to keep for offense. Just click on their name, and that'll open up a screen where you can see their account information. And then you click on Inventory, and that will allow you to look at their characters or ships. And you can scout through that and see what you see, and maybe it'll help you make some decisions. This is what the battlefield looks like. There's 4 zones, and right now it's a 3v3 arena, which is different than 5v5. So you can see in these front zones for my main account, I have to place 4 defenses in the top zone and 3 defenses in the bottom zone. So the game will structure it so that you can place your defenses. You click on these zones, and each zone it'll have a button that says set defense. You pick that and you set your defenses for the zone. If you don't pick teams, let's say you've joined the event and you don't pick your teams and set your defenses, it will auto deploy your characters, and you do not want that because it'll just go from the highest galactic power down, and when you come in the next day, all of your best characters will just be thrown all over on defense. So if you're going to play Grand Arena, really try not to miss it. If you've already played one round and set your defenses and you fail, then in rounds 2 and 3, the game will, I believe, still deploy whatever your last defense was. Whatever first defense you set up, it'll just redeploy the same defense. So it's especially important on that first round that you get in there and set your defenses. Once the opponent has set their defenses, then you'll be able to see their teams, and you'll be able to go in there and start picking fights. So how do I win? How do you're in an event, you're in round 1, how do you win the round? Well, you get banners for setting a defense. It doesn't matter if it's a good defense or what it does. If you just set the defense, you get banners. When you win on offense, you get banners, and you can see there somewhere between 16 and 56 banners for an offensive win. And if you conquer, that means that you clear that whole zone, then you get a bunch of banners. And you can see 204 banners for clearing the zone. It is really important to clear these zones. In early game, there's only one team in the zone, so if you beat that team, you get the victory points for the win on offense, and you get the victory points for the zone. So it's pretty simple. You can also get banners for completing feats, and I titled this slide "Feats." Well, maybe. So there's going to be some feats in here. It's right next to the overview. And when you go into the feats, there's going to be some that are obvious that you can do. Let's say, for instance, it wants 10 squad arena battles. Doesn't even say wins. It does say win 10 squad arenas. So you could just go over to squad arena and win 10 battles and complete that feat. And it doesn't matter if you're at low galactic power or high or where you are, you can always go get some squad arena battle wins. And you can see that's going to give you another 80 banners and another 25 shop currency for doing that feat. So why not? Why wouldn't you do it? A lot of these feats are time bound, so you can see I've only got 4 days and 20 hours left to complete this feat, but that's no problem. I'll go in there and I'll get my fleet victory or squad arena victories and complete this feat. If you look at the one above it, defeat 12 enemy units with a veteran smuggler Han Solo or veteran smuggler Chewbacca. If you don't have those characters unlocked or at any reasonable level, they're not going to be defeating other characters in Grand Arena. So if you can't complete the feat, don't worry about it. Don't stress yourself trying to figure out how to unlock a veteran smuggler between rounds and get that character leveled up to complete a feat. It's not that important. If you're crazy competitive and you're actually trying to win the whole championship and place number 1, well, then that's a different story, and you're not a person that should be watching this video. So, for newer players, do the feats that you can do. Don't worry about the feats that you can't. It's not the important thing about this game mode. Once you get up to Division 3 or Division 2, then you got to start paying more attention to feats. And if you're in Division 1 and you really want to get Kyber, you have to do quite a few of the feats to get that Kyber league by the end of the Grand Arena event. Okay, so how do I win? When you battle the opponent, it's going to award you offensive banners. And this little chart here, it's a little complicated, but it just tells you, look, if you bring in 5 characters and you get an offensive win, it's 15 banners for that. If it's your first try, if it's the first team that you tried to win with, you get a bonus 30 points on top of that. For every one of your 5 characters that's alive at the end of combat, you get a point. For every character that's at full health, you get a point. For every character that's at full protection, you get a point. So if you've got 5 team members and you win on your first try with full health and full protection, it's 60 banners. Well, from there, if you get a character killed and have a bunch of characters that aren't full protection, maybe you get 52 banners. Okay? So if both of you can clear the other opponent's zones and you win and you get victories on the first try and all 4 zones are cleared, then it really comes down to who had the teams that were more efficient in terms of staying at full health and staying at full protection. So it doesn't normally come down to that. You know, let's say in a Grand Arena event where you play 12 games over the course of 4 weeks, 12 matches, there may be one match where it's coming close down to banners on wins, but typically it's who clears the zones and who sets their defenses better and gets a defensive hold, and that person just wins the arena round. So these details are available, and there's a website out there called wiki.swgoh.help. And that's got just a ton of resources in there. So if you want to do research on shops, Grand Arena, almost anything, you know, there's websites like this out there where you can find this information. So I'm not going to post a bunch of slides and try to give you guys all this stuff because it's out there for you to find if you want to go find it, if that's important to you. I'm just trying to give people a rundown of what to expect. So how to win simplified. First of all, if you set a defense that your opponent can't beat, you may win. That's a good strategy for trying to get a win. If you just have enough good offensive teams, you look at their roster and you say, okay, my 3 best offensive teams beat anything that they can put on defense, then just go over there and steamroll them. You know, you can put weaker stuff on your defenses and just go over there and beat them up, right? And then something I will say over and over again, if you don't pay attention to your fleets in these early grand arenas, if you have 2 decent fleets and you can put one and the opponent only has 1 good fleet, if they save their good fleet for offense, they'll beat your fleet, which is fine, but then they're going to have a garbage fleet on defense, and you can get tons of banners. You can come in and don't even put in all your reinforcements and just, you know, take a whole bunch of banners on that ship and win. So I honestly believe very early in the game, having 2 competent fleets will get you Grand Arena wins just based on what you can do in offense and defense, knowing that you have good fleets. So don't slack on that. And then, of course, this is overly simplified because we're just talking about a few teams and 2 fleets. Obviously, the complexity increases with the division. But, you know, once you've increased your division past Division 8, that means you've probably played in 3 or 4 grand arenas already, and you know the scoop, and you can plan your stuff going up from there. So just to give everybody a few simple battle strategies, we're going to label these zones 1, 2, 3, and 4. The front zones 2 and 4, the bottom zones 3 and 4, the fleet zone, zone 1. So there's a bunch of different ways that you'll hear other YouTubers or other people talk about these Grand Arena zones. So just to make this simple, I'm just going to number them 1, 2, 3, and 4 and give a few simple strategies based on this. So let's say that you're in the position of a lot of new players and you only have 1 good fleet and you have a really weak second fleet. You almost are forced to play a strategy where you put your best team in zone 2. So you put your best team in front of the fleet zone and you hope that that gets a hold and that the opponent just doesn't get to your weak fleet, and then you could save your good fleet for offense. That means that zones 3 and 4 aren't going to be your best characters, but you're going to have to put decent teams over there because you can't give anything away for free. If they beat your good team and get to your fleet and get good points on that, you can't also give away zones 3 and 4. So you have to use quite a bit of your good stuff on defense to protect a weak fleet. And that means that your offense in this strategy, the offense that you're taking across the board to deal with the opponent may be weaker than what you want. So games like this come down to, who can clear one or two zones, and it's much more of a defensive game. If you look at your opponent and they have a huge team, and you're just looking across the board going, man, they already own a Darth Revan or, some crazy character, and they got it, leveled up to gear 12 or relic level, and, you feel like you're way behind. Understand the game is matching you up based on a total of galactic power. So if they have that good, that strong, that one big team that there's no way you're ever going to beat, it means that from there, all of their other teams are going to fall off very quickly and be at low galactic power. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to bully them with, having a better total roster than they have. So you're going to put good teams in 2, 3, and 4. You're going to save your best teams, but you're going to put like your second best team, third best team, and fourth best team. You're going to put all of those on defense. Okay? And put your weaker fleet on defense as well. So if they put their huge team on defense, and you just, okay, there's no way I can get past that. They keep that zone. Then you have to use your best team on the other zone, win with high banners, all your characters alive, full life, full protection, whatever you can do with your best team to just dominate whatever they put, for example, in front of their fleet. And then use your best fleet to try to get good banners and bully their fleet. And then you just have to leave those other two zones because you can't get through it, right? But because you know that you're not going to be fighting against their best team anyway, again, if you really think you can't beat it, you're not going to need teams to fight anyway. You're only going to need one team to fight in the ship zone, or two teams to fight if for some reason they put their big characters in front of the fleet zone. Then you would go to the other zone and then take out the character zone behind it. But that's a way that you can fight against somebody who's got a huge roster, or one huge team on their roster. If they save the big team for offense, that's even better for you, because they're only going to be able to beat one of your teams. And you put your second, third, and fourth best team over there. You didn't even put your best team there for them to beat. So they're going to take that team and walk over one of your teams and get high banners. Fine. But then they still have to clear other zones and win. And in the meantime, that means that they will have left a much weaker defense, which you should then be able to clear pretty easily. So that's a strategy that you can use against an opponent with one big team. And if you look at your opponent and it's the opposite, you've got a deep opponent and they've built up a lot of teams and they don't really have that many characters at high level, but they've just got team after team after team after team after team. They got, maybe they need 6 teams and they've got, 9 teams already going and decent characters. Okay, that means that they're looking across the table at you just like you were against the opponent with a big team. So that means your best team, they shouldn't have anything that will beat your best team. So you put that on square 4, just to remind everybody what this looks like. You put that on square 4 there on the bottom corner, and you just block that zone, and you try to make sure that they can't beat your best team, okay? And then no matter how deep their roster is, if they can't get past that team, you've locked them out. Put a junk team behind that on 3. You could put a junk team on 2, and then put your best fleet on defense. And the reason you want to do that is because then there's a good chance that you can hold on fleet and you can hold on 4, and then we'll get one zone cleared, which is fine. All you have to do is clear 2 zones and you'll win. And because they have, a deep roster with a whole bunch of teams, and you've saved all, your number 2, 3, and 4 teams, you've saved all your other good teams. You just placed your best team and 2 junk teams, right? Hold the fleet, hold 4, and then bully them with with your other good teams that are going to hopefully be better than their teams. So that's a few different little strategies that you can use based on what you see when you scout your opponent. And ultimately, the challenge of this whole mode, the whole reason behind Grand Arena, is to try to get enough banners, enough wins, and get to this Kyber League by the end of the month. And that, if you get the Kyber, there's really a lot of good gear and more Zetas and all kinds of stuff that you can get by achieving Kyber. And so that's complicated, right? It's a lot of stuff. But so you might say, oh, fine, why bother with this? It's too complex. I don't want that. I just want to keep it simple. Just remember, you don't have to play to try to win. This is an area where you're going to get fair fights. You're going to get paired up against opponents that are at your same galactic power. It's a way for you to mod your characters differently and try something out in Grand Arena and see if it works. And if you win, great, you learn something new. And if you don't win, you just remod them again before you join the next round and try to learn stuff, right? It's also a good way to learn characters. So let's say you got no idea what Jedi Training Ray is all about. Well, once you played the game long enough, somebody else is going to have a Jedi Training Ray, and they're going to have them on defense. And you're going to have to read that character and look over the skills and try to figure out what that character does, and then pick one of your teams to play against it, and you're going to see how that team plays. And maybe you'll learn that you really want a Jedi Training Ray for yourself. Or maybe you'll learn that, man, that wasn't very impressive, and I can just crush that team with one of my teams. So, in the future, I don't care if I see Jedi Training Ray. So you learn a lot about matchups, about how to play. That's going to help you in guild territory battles. It's going to help you in all kinds of stuff, right? So learning these matchups, learning the characters without having to have them yourself, it's nice. And then it's also, this whole Grand Arena thing is when you're planning out your teams and you're like, oh, what should I do next? Well, what you should do next is either A, build a really good defensive team for Grand Arena, or B, build a really good offensive team for Grand Arena, or C, pay attention to your fleet so you can do better with fleet in Grand Arena. It's such an easy way to give yourself direction and say, okay, yeah, I want to go first and win team, so I'm going to build the Imperial Troopers, and that'll be in my next big offensive team for Grand Arena. And then you go out and build the troopers. And there's going to be a ton of other stuff that those troopers do in the game. They're going to be participating in events for characters that are Empire. They're going to be something that can, clear something in the territory wars for guild events. Maybe they can do a lot of damage in raids. So you get characters that do stuff in the game, but kind of the purpose behind it is, hey, I'm gonna use this team to really have a really strong offensive team for my Grand Arena. So that's kind of the motivation behind it. And at the end of the day, really, a Grand Arena comes down to this. In the other game modes, if you want to win Squad Arena, if you want to win Fleet, and you're in a shard where people have spent a bunch of money and got a bunch of good characters, the only way that you're going to win is by doing the same thing. In Grand Arena, you don't have to do any of that. Whatever your account is, whatever your galactic power is, that's what it is. And the game matches you up against people at a similar level, and you play against people at a similar level and can have fun. So it's a way to play the game and to challenge yourself. And, if you're running a marathon and then you decide to run a second marathon, the challenge is really to get a better time than you got in your last marathon. That's people run it because they enjoy them. It's hard work. It's something not a lot of people will do. But each time you go, you're trying to beat your best time. And that's the same thing with Grand Arena. If you get an Erodium placement but think you can get up to Kyber, every time you get into this Grand Arena, try to get a better score, try to do better, get more wins, and get that Kyber. So to me, that is a very good way to motivate newer players without the frustration of figuring out that the pay-to-play players you're never going to catch up. It's fine. Just play Grand Arena and play it at your level, and get into a guild that you enjoy that plays with your style and plays at your level, and this game can really be fun. Fun and rewarding, and you can play it for a long time. So that's Grand Arena Explained, Grand Arena 101, Loquitur's Lessons. Thank you all. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, watch some more videos in the future. I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.